5 miles down in the pitch-black abyss lie the deepest shipwrecks ever discovered. In these crushing zones, modern submarines risk implosion. Here are 5 hulls lost where humans cannot survive. More than 6,400 meters down, in water so cold it barely moves, the wreck of the USS Johnston sits upright on the floor of the Philippine Sea. It should not be there, not at that depth, not in pieces that still look like a ship. And yet in 2021, when Victor Vescovo's submersible descended to the floor of the Surigao Strait, the sonar came back with something that did not match the geology around it. Metal. Shaped metal. The kind that comes from a shipyard, not a volcano. The Johnston was a Fletcher-class destroyer, 376 feet long, built for speed and firepower, not for fighting battleships. On October the 25th, 1944, during the Battle of Leyte Gulf, her commander Ernest Evans turned her directly toward a Japanese fleet that outgunned her by orders of magnitude. He did not wait for orders. He made smoke, fired torpedoes, and charged. The Johnston absorbed dozens of direct hits before she went down, taking Evans and more than half her crew with her. The Navy awarded Evans the Medal of Honor posthumously. The ship was never found. For 77 years, she stayed lost. Then Vescovo aimed 4 sonar systems at the right coordinates, and the ocean gave up one secret it had kept since the war. The Johnston became the deepest shipwreck ever found. That record would not last long. The Samuel B. Roberts was not supposed to be findable. She was a destroyer escort, just over 300 feet long, built for convoy protection rather than fleet combat. At the bottom of the Philippine Sea, nearly 6,900 meters down, she would be a needle in an ocean floor haystack the size of a continent. When Vescovo's team descended to look for her in 2022, the expedition's own commander gave it even odds of finding nothing at all. What broke the search open was not the hull, it was 3 torpedo tubes, clustered together on the sea floor in a configuration that matched only one ship lost during the entire Battle of Leyte Gulf. The Samuel B. Roberts carried a specific type of triple torpedo mount that no other vessel in that engagement had. When the side-scan sonar locked onto the cluster, the identification was not a guess. It was geometry. The Roberts had fought the same battle as the Johnston, charging Japanese battleships with whatever she had, absorbing punishment far beyond what her hull was designed to survive. She went down fighting. Nearly 90 of her crew never came home. When Vescovo's team finally found her bow number still readable in the sediment, the ship sitting broken but present on the deepest sea floor ever surveyed, she became the new record. Deeper than the Johnston. Deeper than anything found before. The HMAS Sydney disappeared on the night of November 19, 1941, and Australia spent 66 years not knowing where she went. She was a light cruiser, fast and decorated, fresh from combat service in the Mediterranean. The ship that sank her was a German merchant raider called the Cormoran, disguised as a Dutch freighter, flying a false flag until the range was close enough that deception became unnecessary. The 2 ships tore each other apart. The Cormoran's crew survived. All 645 men aboard the Sydney did not. Not one body, not one lifeboat. Nothing that explained what happened in those final hours reached shore. The search that followed was the largest in Australian maritime history. For decades, it produced nothing. Then, in 2008, a joint expedition using modern multi-beam sonar located both wrecks within 12 miles of each other off the coast of Western Australia, resting at approximately 2,470 meters. Deep enough that recreational diving was impossible. Deep enough that only remotely operated vehicles could reach the hull and document what the German survivors had never fully explained. What the cameras found settled some questions and opened others. The damage patterns on Sydney's bow told a story of close-range combat that the official accounts had only partially described. She had fought back. She had taken the Cormoran down with her. The sea had kept that evidence for 66 years before anyone thought to look at the right depth. The USS Grunion left New London, Connecticut, in June 1942 and was never seen again. She was a Gato-class submarine, 311 feet long, carrying more than 70 men on her third wartime patrol into the waters off the Aleutian Islands. Her last radio transmission arrived on July 30th, 1942. After that, silence. The Navy listed her as presumed lost. The cause was unknown. For 65 years, the explanation was simply that the ocean had taken her and kept the reason. What brought her back was not a government program or a naval expedition. It was her captain's sons. Bruce, John, and Brad Abel spent years reconstructing their father's final patrol from declassified records, Japanese ship logs, and acoustic data nobody had thought to cross-reference. In 2007, they funded and joined a private search expedition to the waters north of Kiska Island. The sonar hit something at approximately 300 meters, shallow by deep ocean standards, but remote enough that it had escaped detection for 6 decades. The wreck was intact enough to raise a specific and troubling question. Evidence suggested the Grunion may have been sunk by her own malfunctioning torpedo, a defect known to affect that model, circling back on the submarine that fired it. The Navy had known about the defect. The Grunion had not been warned in time. 3 sons found their father's ship and uncovered a question the institution that sent him there had never fully answered. The Gambia Bay is still down there, somewhere in the Philippine Sea, at a depth that may exceed the Samuel B. Roberts, the only American aircraft carrier sunk by direct naval gunfire in World War II, is sitting on a seafloor that no camera has yet reached. Vescovo's team looked for her twice. Both times the ocean gave back nothing but geology. She was an escort carrier, slow and lightly armored, built to support amphibious operations rather than fleet engagements. On October the 25th, 1944, the same morning the Johnston and the Roberts made their charges, the Gambia Bay was the ship they were trying to protect. Japanese cruisers closed the range until her flight deck was under direct fire. She had no armor to speak of. She had no speed to run. She absorbed the shells until she could not absorb any more and went down, taking more than 140 of her crew with her. What makes her absence from the record books remarkable is not the depth, it is the size. An escort carrier is not a torpedo tube cluster. She is 512 feet of flight deck, hangar bay, and superstructure. She should be findable. The historical track puts her in a search zone. Vescovo's sonar has already swept. She was not there, which means the ocean has moved her, buried her, or the track is wrong. The deepest aircraft carrier wreck in history is waiting. The expedition that finds her has not left port yet. The wrecks in this list did not go down quietly. They went down fighting, or vanishing, or taking their explanations with them into water so deep that decades passed before the technology existed to follow. What connects them is not only depth, it is resistance. The ocean does not surrender these things easily. It took 77 years to find the Johnston, 66 years for the Sydney, 65 years for the Grunion. The Samuel B. Roberts was identified by 3 torpedo tubes on a seafloor nearly 7 miles down. The Gambia Bay has not been found at all. What keeps people descending into that darkness is not treasure. There is nothing to recover at these depths, no artifact worth the cost of the dive. What there is the record, the specific, physical, undeniable record of what happened and who was there when it did. Families get answers. Historians get evidence. The men who went down with these ships get something the official casualty lists never provided, which is a location, a place that exists on a map, a depth that can be measured, a hull that can be seen. The ocean keeps its secrets at pressure that crushes steel, but the submarines keep going down, and every few years the darkness gives something back.